Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Super Lunch Bros podcast, episode number 51. I am Brendan.
And I'm Nate.
We had another card again. Yay. Before we start, if you're listening to this, if you're joining us for the first time, hey, welcome. This is super fun. We just talk about the UFC mostly and whatever other dumb crap comes up. And like, subscribe. And if you like what you're seeing here, please tell somebody else about it so that they can also watch it. And don't forget to interact. Like if you have questions about what we said, or if you feel differently about an opinion, comment about it. Like let us know. Pretty good about getting back about comments. And if you do say something that we want to bring up in a future video, then we're probably going to do it.
Tell you, whatever y'all want to hear about, whatever you want to talk about, as long as we actually feel like talking about it, we'll definitely get into it.
And bring this mic down. Okay. I don't need it to be that close. All right. So we just had UFC Fight Night, Holland versus Vettori. Not the most exciting fight, for the main event. But Vettori got the job done. Obviously, he was supposed to fight Darren Till. And Kevin Holland, being who Kevin Holland is, stepped up on short notice and was like, oh, I'll fight him.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, he also spoke to it after the fight. Vettori got the job done. Vettori got the win. But he spoke to it after the fight in an interview with Megan O'Leary. He said, I believe in every fighter getting their paycheck. And, I could have done the smart thing and just, left my phone somewhere else, got in the shower and ignored it and been like, oh, I didn't see the call. But, I answered the call. He's like, I'm a company man. I like to fight. That's what I do. So I might not be the smartest person. I don't make the smartest decisions. But when it comes to fighting, I'm first in line. So I like that about him. I like his attitude. I think he's a fun fighter.
Yeah. I thought it was a fun fight. I mean, 1-2 decision, but Vettori got it done.
Yeah, so yeah. Vettori didn't take a huge. So he was supposed to be fighting Darren Till, who was ranked number 5, and before this weekend, Kevin Holland is ranked number 10. I don't think this hurts Kevin Holland's stock.
Yeah. Wasn't his last fight against Derek Brunson?
Yeah, who was ranked number 4, also a decision. There's a bug on my camera. Stupid stink bugs. Anyway. No, I don't think it hurts his stock. If anything, he might move up ahead of Uriah Hall after this loss. If nothing else, for lack of activity from Uriah Hall. Not necessarily that he's a better fighter or whatever. It's just, I don't think if worst comes to worst, I don't think he should drop from number 10. I think he should stay where he is. He shouldn't drop down anymore.
I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think it should hurt him at all. And, things move forward the way both of us wanted it to. Vettori got the win, and hopefully that gets him one step closer to a rematch with Izzy.
That's what I'm hoping for. So he did call for it after the fight. It wasn't the most exciting fight. It wasn't the most exciting decision. But so Vettori is a very all-around, good all-around fighter. I thought his technical striking and counter striking was going to get the job done. But, seeing what he saw against Derek Brunson, Vettori went out there and just out-grappled Holland. I mean, he didn't – in the striking department, I think Holland had the advantage, especially, I would say, in the power department. He was a little more crisp on his strikes. But Vettori did land a few good shots. He was a lot stronger. He was able to get the takedowns whenever he wanted. In fact, he set the record in this fight for most takedowns in a welterweight fight with 11.
Which, that's actually impressive that's the
Not
record.
Welterweight, middleweight. I'm an idiot.
Okay. Or yeah. That's still just impressive. That's the record.
Especially from a Western European fighter, not known for their grappling ability, and that's not a knock on the fighters coming out of there. It's just when it comes to wrestling specifically, you've got Russia.
Most Western European fighters tend to be kickbox specialists.
Exactly.
That's more so ingrained in, whether it be culturally or there, just the amount of gyms that specialize in that sort of thing.
And boxing.
Yeah.
Boxing's huge in Western Europe. has been for a very long time.
Yeah.
MMA has been illegal in France up until I think last year,
which is hilarious.
Maybe it was this year, which is, I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But so Vettori did ask for the title. So next weekend, we'll talk about it later, but next weekend we do have fights. We have Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker fighting
Gaslam.
Kelvin Gastelum. So, but I mean, we don't have to break down the whole fight or what we think is going to happen on the card right now. But let's say Robert Whittaker does lose to Kelvin Gastelum. Does that give Vettori the go ahead for the title shot? Or do you think Gastelum?
I'd have to look at Gastelum's record of recent, but I do think
he's come. Is he one win? And let me look.
Because that's what I thought. I mean, yeah, my gut instinct is that Vettori, he's got the clear road ahead.
I don't think so. Oh yeah, all right. Okay, hold on. So, if in this scenario where Kelvin Gastelum gets a win and beats Whittaker, I think you're right. I think Vettori does have the go-ahead because he does have that split decision loss to the champ in Izzy. Yep. So
since then has been on an absolute tear.
Yeah, I mean he has 2 losses since then. It's not like he's gone undefeated. It's just that he is on a 5-fight win streak. Yeah, he's on a fight included. Yeah, and against 2 like Jack Hermanson, who he finished, and fighting Kevin Holland, and like stepping up on, like, he just wants to fight. And Vettori's, it's kind of hard to deny him fights now because he's higher ranked. But earlier, I think it was early last year, during that whole early pandemic phase where, they were canceling cards and then shifting things around, he was caught up in that and didn't get to fight. And we mentioned it here, but he had that whole outburst inside the hotel because, he finally gets a fight scheduled and the guy pulls out of the fight the day before. And then he sees that dude walking around the hotel acting fine. And like Vettori loses his shit and just goes after him. He's like, what? He's like, you're fine. Then fight me now. Fight me. What do you do? Like, and he's like, you could see like how upset he was. It's like, this guy wants to do his job. Like, he really wants to get out there and fight. And like, you can tell he's hungry for the title. And he maintains to this day that if he beat, if that split decision went his way against Adesanya, if they do end up scheduling this, I want to go back and watch that fight again because I want to see how it went down. It's been so long since it happened.
And that would be my other point. And it's so hard to really take anything away from it just because of how long it's been.
Yeah, 2 totally different fighters.
Even since then, Izzy has gotten so dramatically better, more confident.
Yeah, and I would argue that Marvin has also got
and that's why
this grappling was great. I mean, Holland's not a great defensive grappler who we've seen. It's just, I think he did more damage and did a better job grappling than Derek Brunson did.
I can see that.
Which Derek Brunson is, a collegiate wrestler, and that's coming from.
It's hard to gauge. It looked crisp. I mean, he got it done. He kind of, if anything, I'd say he probably used the playbook. Derek Brunson saw that worked really effectively, and then
I mean, why not?
Made it his own.
It was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow. It was 3 weeks ago, and he steps up and manages to just take him down almost effortlessly early on. So why wouldn't you keep doing it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think again, just to touch back on this, and then we'll move on to the next couple fights because there were some exciting fights on this card. If Robert Whittaker gets the win this weekend over Kelvin Gastelum, I don't know what's going to happen, but I personally don't feel that Vettori deserves the title shot over Whittaker. Not that I don't think he deserves the title shot. I think he does. It's just Whittaker has beat everybody in the division. And if he does beat Gastelum, he's just taking out top 5, top 10 contenders constantly. The guy he derailed Jared Cannonier's title run. Everybody thought Cannonier was going to go in there and knock Whittaker out. Didn't happen. How about when Darren Till, he was like, oh, Whittaker's on the downslide. Till's going to go in there and screw him up. Whitaker got it done.
No.
You know, it's just
how quick people are ready to forget the absolute monster. Like pretty much before the Izzy fight, Robert Whitaker was the monster of that division.
Yeah, I mean, he still is.
And still is. And that's my point. Like, if your name isn't Izzy, I wouldn't want to fight fucking Robert Whitaker. Like, and even then, I'm curious to see how that fight goes. If Whitaker is able to get back in the ring with Izzy. I mean, those are the two most interesting fights for me in that division are Vettori and Whitaker against Izzy. Either of those two. So, whichever one of those happens next, I'm not going to be sad either way.
I mean,
I prefer to see Whitaker get his shot again.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then after that, have Vettori come in and take his shot.
I would like a bookend on the Whitaker saga. Yeah. I would like to have him have one more shot, not for nothing else, to just have him, so we can definitively know that it wasn't just a fluke punch or that it wasn't just a bad night out at the office, or we can know for sure that Izzy's just better. Whitaker just didn't have what it takes. And if Izzy's not there, maybe Whitaker is the champ. Maybe it's like the DC John Jones thing, or everybody else in that division who had a dominant run except for fighting John Jones.
The worst thing that could happen to Vettori would be Whitaker wins that fight, and then we have to get the trilogy.
Yes.
Because Whitaker wins, I mean, it would have to be some unbelievable fashion of a win to not have an immediate rematch.
Well, I think if Izzy got injured and just couldn't fight, I think
all right,
that's possible. That's a possible way Vettori ends up getting up there. I think there's a good chance that it's going to be Whitaker getting the next title shot.
Yes.
I really do. It's Gastelum is going to be a tough test, and we'll see how that goes, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, all right, we had at the co-main event, we had Arnold Allen fighting Sodiq Yusuff. So Arnold Allen is 8-0, in the UFC now. He's on an 8-fight win streak since coming to the UFC from Cage Warriors. He's 17-1. His only loss coming before he came to the UFC. Sodiq Yusuff only has one loss, I believe, in the UFC. Almost positive, because he's 11-2 now.
Yep.
So I think that was either I think coming into this fight, he only had one loss in the UFC. Arnold Allen was actually getting beat up on the feet a little bit. Not beat up. Let's go. I would say outskilled on the feet. But in the first round, he was patient, landed a big shot, stung Sodiq pretty good. Second round, Yusuff is doing work. Arnold Allen catches him with a head kick, puts him on his butt. And then in the third round, Arnold Allen kind of just coasted to a victory. Arnold Allen's very good. And Sodiq Yusuff was a good test for him because he's a crisp striker who has really good cardio, because he had the cardio to go the distance, whereas Allen was fading. And Allen did enough to get it done. So I think he's a fun, a featherweight. I don't even know if he's a prospect anymore, because that was a top 10 fight. I mean, Yusuff was ranked number 11 and Allen was number 10. So, we're talking about like a top 10 fight here. And there's a good chance that he bumps up and he could fight like Dan Ige, Josh Emmett, Calvin Kattar. Like, he's going to, now Allen, the next fight for Allen's going to be key to see where he fits into this modern featherweight division.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It was definitely a good performance by him. Just very efficient. Did what he needed to do.
Yep. Let's see.
I don't have a ton to say on it.
Sam Alvey versus Julian Marquez. This was the fight where I was like, either Alvey's going to get a knockout win or it's going to be a sloppy, boring fight. It wasn't sloppy. It was sloppy, but not boring.
Yeah.
Marquez rocked Alvey pretty good, and then manages to get this rear naked. Well, it's actually a knockout. I've heard this before, and I was wrong a couple weeks ago when I called it a TKO with Ngannou and Stipe. I'm not wrong on this one. There was no tap, therefore it is not a submission. Those should technically be considered knockouts, because That's you do not submit. That's what that means. Like I'm submitting to you because whatever's about to happen, I don't want to happen. I'm quitting right now. I'm submitting to you. If I go unconscious, that is a knockout. You have knocked me out, whether that be from a choke. It's just like a doctor stoppage due to a broken arm. Like that
is incredibly interesting. I've never thought about it that way. What does it say in the rules, though?
I don't know.
I mean, it says submission, so it probably gets classified as submission. Stoppage due to a submission hold.
That would be fine, but Julian Marquez got he put Sam Alvey out. He hit him hard, and he was Alvey was rocked, and then he got in like a rear naked choke position, or it was I forget what this one is. The high, I don't know. It doesn't matter. So he was behind him, got under the neck, no hooks in or anything. He was still like standing up. He just managed to. I put his forearm onto his throat, and just squeezed enough to knock him out. So, in those scenarios where someone goes to sleep, like that's not a submission victory the same way as like, I put you in an armbar or a leg lock or a Kimura or something and you submit. Like
that is a very good point. I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's just like a doctor stoppage. If you break someone's arm, that's not a submission victory. That's the fight has to be stopped because you damage someone. If you break here's a great example. If you were to kick someone in the leg, right, and damage their knee, okay? If you were to damage their knee and they weren't able to continue, that would be considered a knockout win. Or
I got one that I'm curious about. All right, so a mat slam knockout.
Yeah, it's still a knockout.
Okay, so a mat slam knockout, you didn't actually punch them or kick them or connect with their head. You just knock them out using the canvas, basically.
Yeah, that's happened a few times in UFC history. I think the most recent one was...
Is that considered a knockout?
Yes, we can look it up right now because I remember the last one was Rose Namajunas got knocked out by Jessica Andrade, remember? She got picked up and slammed on her head. And that was considered a... Oh, yeah, and then she came back and beat her. KO, slam.
Okay. So if that's a KO, then
there's
makes sense that getting unconscious from whether it's a rear naked choke or guillotine or whatever it may be would qualify as a KO as well. All right. Yeah, I'm sold on it.
Yeah, I don't think it muddies the water, and I think it's kind of a technicality, like who really cares. But it's one of those things where we just accept it because the process of getting a submission is always, it's built into our brains that, you take a joint and you bend in a direction it's not supposed to go, or you try to cut off the circulation of oxygen or blood to the brain, right? So those are the two methods of submission, right? That broken down to like the most basic example of it. And if we are just so conditioned that if a fight ends due to someone tapping or an injury in that process, he submitted him. But if you think about what submitting means, it means I'm giving up. I'm submitting to you.
Yeah.
So you have to be conscious to do that. Like the doctor can't stop it or the ref can't stop it because you have a broken arm or a busted knee or you're unconscious. Those should be knockouts or doctor stoppages.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I can't.
Yeah. I'm okay with a separate designation as well. Like if you want to make it like a, because we say we're going for the submission, right? That's what we say. He's going for the submission or she's going for the submission, right? And we equate that to, trying to get a finish that way or like,
I mean, technically, if you are, if you're in full mount and you're hitting someone in the face and they tap out,
that's a submission victory.
Yeah. All right. So if that's a submission and you didn't use any submission move to get a submission, then choking someone unconscious should be a KO.
I agree. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's we associate it because that's the normal sequence of events. Punching,
normally
punching,
you don't
punching,
tap out from getting punched.
right?
But
Punching, fight ends. Oh, he knocked him out or he got a TKO. Oh, grabbing someone's arm or neck and the fight ends. That's a submission. But sometimes they can flip, right? George St. Pierre and Matt Serra. Matt Serra kneeing him in. Matt Serra lost to knees to the body to GSP. No, when Matt Serra started, he landed that big shot and got on top of him and started, raining down punches. GSP actually submitted to that. Like he was actually tapping out due to strikes. So that's technically a submission. Not the normal way we see it, but it's a submission. And then there's also
probably a smarter way than most, honestly.
Yeah, and I would be okay adding, like, I don't think it's that difficult to add in a different designation. Be like submission due to strikes, submission due to a whole.
We classified knockout due to head kick.
Yeah, and we say submission due to armbar. We say submission due to arm triangle. We already designate what they are. We might as well say like
knockout due to guillotine.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be fine. And if anything, if you go in like someone's fight history, it's still a finish, so that's fine. It's just I think that's
from a technical standpoint.
Accurate.
You're 100% on point.
And I've heard that described before, and I don't remember who said it. But I've heard that it's not even an argument. Someone is just kind of like making an offhand remark saying like, oh, technically that's not a submission. Anywho, Sam Alvey goes out and with Julian Marquez gets a really good victory. And of course, with Julian Marquez, we expect a weird call out afterwards. His last victory, he asked for a date with Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus it says like, oh, if you shave my name into your chest hair and whatever. And then he just didn't go on the date with her. This time he called out Kansas City football team, I believe. I think he calls out either the whole Chiefs team or something like that, and he challenged them to a game of pickleball.
Alrighty.
I mean,
tune in next week.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's fun. I don't think. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose, like being a character, or filling a niche that nobody knew was there, being like the funny guy. Because we've had that before, during face-offs.
Trying to flex creativity. I mean, everyone's no harm in experimenting. Either it catches on or it doesn't.
Oh, I'm not mad at him. I think it's hilarious. Yeah, good for him. Maybe that's just who he is. I don't listen to that podcast, his podcast. I'm kind of not podcasted out. It's just I only have so much time in the day. I can't listen to 30 podcasts.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So we need to talk about the new shorts. It ties into what I'm about to say. So Nina Nunes, not Nina Ansaroff, which really cool. She came out with her. I don't know if they're technically married or not, but she took Amanda Nunes' last name. I think that's like, I don't know. There's something about that I really like. I always like it when a couple gets together and like it's just like a form of unity. I don't know. It doesn't mean like you're giving up a part of yourself. It just means like you're becoming one. I think it's cool that she did that. And she looked okay against Mackenzie Dern, but Dern looked stronger, and she got in mount really early and managed to submit her like later in the round. It wasn't. I think that's a tough fight for Nina to come back.
Oh yeah.
Like that's her first fight in 3 years or something. And I don't know if that's fair for her to come back. I know because she's ranked number 5 still. That in the ranking, the way the rankings work, like, yeah, technically that's not a bad matchup for her against Dern. But I think coming back, I would have liked to see her fight somebody outside the top.
Ring rust is real. That's
top 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to get past.
Mackenzie Dern, I mean, I thought as far as shape goes, Nina looked fantastic.
Yeah.
She was in fight shape. I thought she looked great. Her striking looked pretty crisp for what I saw. It's just, her strength wasn't there compared to Dern, who's very strong.
Oh, yeah.
And real quick before we get on the shorts. So Mackenzie Dern, before this fight, was ranked number 11. Nina Nunes was ranked number 5. I mean,
who fucking
Dern's
knows?
Dern's probably going to jump up. Dern's probably going to jump up a few. And Dern made weight again, so no more of that weight miss stuff, which is good. And we have like, this puts her in the conversation with like Tisha Torres. She could fight Michelle Waterson, Claudia Gadelha, all the strawweight staples that we're all familiar with. Now all of a sudden Dern has to fight them. Like, we can't have her fighting, Rachel
15 to 10 rankers.
Yeah, we can't have her fighting Rachel from Best Buy anymore. Okay. No disrespect to them, but there's like, I just mean that like the strawweight division is one of the strongest divisions in the UFC, especially in the top 10, top 5 area. And it's just if you want to be considered one of those like elite few, you have to start fighting them. You can't keep fighting people outside the top 15 and submitting them within the first 3 minutes and be like, oh man, look at her talent. Oh, she's so good. This and that. Like, listen, she's
a 7-fight win streak doesn't mean a lot if you're not facing top tier talent.
No, and she's also been fighting in the UFC for quite some time now. So I think it's time for her to step in there. I wouldn't mind seeing her against, Tisha. So here's the other thing is like Tisha Torres is she's a volume striker with good cardio and she's very strong. So, Dern versus Torres, I mean, if she manages to take her down on the ground, I think she gets a win that way. It's just Michelle Waterson, same thing. Claudia Gadelha, I think she's a tough test for her. Marina Rodriguez, maybe. Nina, she just fought her. Carla Esparza, good grappler, but I don't see that going Esparza's way.
There's a lot of good matchups for her.
Yeah, but someone's calling out, like someone's saying like, oh, Mackenzie Dern versus Joanna. Joanna's ranked number 2. I mean, Joanna's last fight was for the title, right? Has she fought anybody since Wiley?
I don't know. I feel like I would have remembered.
Yeah, she hasn't fought since March of last year against Wiley Zhang in one of the best fights in UFC history.
Yeah.
That
fucking welt though.
One of the closest fights in UFC history.
Yeah.
In which nobody really lost. I've watched it since then, and I don't remember what my initial opinion was, but I gave it to Joanna again, not again, but like I gave it to Joanna on like multiple viewings. I've seen it a couple times. I give it to Joanna. It's so close though. That fight was so close. Anyway, about the shorts. So, I was a little busy during the morning. Or when these fights were happening in the early afternoon, and I was kind of following on Twitter, but I was trying to avoid it, and it's just like habit to pull up Twitter and look up MMA news, and because it was so early, it wasn't built into my brain yet. Like, avoid Twitter. It's past 6:00 at night. All the fights are going to be on. So I pull up Twitter, and I'm looking. Then like one of the first comments I see is like, "Man, I love these Venum shorts," and I'm like, "What are they talking about?" It's because of this fight, because they were hiked up Dern's butt. That's why. So like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's funny. Like, this happened a couple of weeks ago. This happened a couple of weeks ago when during a Bellator match, they were talking about the shorts and they were like hiked up some girl's butt. Fine. I think it's funny that, like when you're watching like these highly skilled fighters, even the most like these are pretty reserved Twitter followers, by the way, like people who will make jokes once in a while, but like these are people who like talk about MMA very frequently, and they're like, I love MMA, but I'm really distracted.
Yeah,
it's the same as when that dude a long time ago wore that Speedo when he fought.
Oh yeah,
it's distracting.
That is distracting. Or what was it? The dude whose shorts came off during the NFL Combine.
Exactly.
Yeah, that becomes news.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not. Yeah. It's not like, oh, you're objectifying women. No, but if a guy's shorts, like we've seen it before, like with that baby, not Augusto Sakai. Is it Augusto Sakai? One of the heavyweights. His nickname is Baby. and he like hiked up his shorts to make it look like a diaper. Also very distracting, right?
Yeah.
Like
Derek Lewis.
Oh, Derek Lewis taking his pants off. Yes.
Yeah.
My balls was hot. Yeah, that one.
Yep.
So, anyway, how did you feel before we get to the next fight on here? What did you feel about the shorts compared to the Reebok shorts?
I don't know how they feel. Like, appearance wise, I didn't really care either way. Like, I don't know. I didn't have a strong opinion on them. I'm not sure if it's a different feel or if the fighters enjoy them more. Honestly, the only thing I care about is actually compensation and whatever the packages the fighters are getting off of it. I haven't looked into that yet, but
I can tell you right now. I can break it down for everybody.
Yeah.
It's like a 2% increase or 3% increase.
So basically the same deal.
Yes. So like I was seeing a lot of the meme from I remember the movie The Dictator with James Franco, where he's like same but different but still same. Like
not The Dictator.
Oh, that's not from The Dictator. What is that called? You're right.
The Interview.
The Interview. My bad. The Dictator is with Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah. So The Interview, like where he goes like same but different but still same. That's kind of what's going on.
That's how I felt about it too. I'm like, even just the appearance of the shorts, I'm like, all right, they're just MMA shorts.
Well, so as far as go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if they actually feel any different or, how the fighters feel about it, but yeah.
Well, so as far how I look at it is getting over the Reebok hump as far as like style and design goes. That's setting the bar extremely low.
That is very fair.
We're talking about the most generic ass shorts that you buy from Walmart. And I don't care. Like, I'm not shitting on people who do that. Like, I do that. Like, I don't do it anymore because I have so many workout clothes and so many shorts that I have built up. Dude, I have shorts from middle school. They don't wear out. They still, like, they're baggy. Now they fit me. Like, I just have shorts. Like, I have no reason to buy more of them. So I'm not shitting on like someone who wants to buy generic shorts because they don't want to pay stupid prices for Nike stuff. What I'm saying is like these are athletes, professional athletes wearing a uniform that is provided to them by their organization. They should have some design, some flair, even, some uniqueness about them. But Reebok was like these boring ass, like plain colors. Like here's brown versus, and remember, it used to only be two colors. It was white and black for a long time, or white and gray. I forget. And then they're like, oh, we should open up to new colors. Like 3 or 4 years into the deal, they're like, maybe we should allow blue. Oh, I don't know, Steve. That's pushing it. That's kind of crazy.
All right, I have an idea for how we move forward with this. Because
no pants, nude fighting, old Greek
absolutely
style.
No pants. No. You should bring a little bit of the gym team aspect into it, because ultimately, like all NFL jerseys are the same brand, right?
Yeah, I don't know who has a deal now.
But ultimately, like the NFL design team and team design teams have a say in. All right, every couple of years you get new branded logo, new fucking jerseys coming out for teams. So what if, AKA had input into the shorts that their fighters wore? So you still have kind of home away colors, or like you still have the color variation, but the actual design of the shorts is designed by the different gyms. And if you got, a fighter that's not really a part of a gym or an independent fighter, you can give them the leeway, like, all right, you can't slather your shorts like a NASCAR thing. You can't add other brand logos onto it. But if you want to design it, you can design it. If you want the generic and don't care, you can go generic. But if you're part of a, very like Winklejohn's fucking gym, they should definitely be able to design their own shorts and still have it be Venum, still have the Venum logo on there. But I think that would buy a lot more people into getting fight kits and having them be a little bit more meaningful.
I think I don't outright disagree with what you're saying. So I think that the fighter should be able to dictate what they're wearing, regardless if they're part of a gym or not.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind having colors from your gym. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, or if the UFC is going to go down the road of, all right, purely Venom, can't, whatever, can't do the old style of using your shorts as a branding option for yourself. All right, that's fine. Allow fighters to build up their own brand and allow teams to build up their brand.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to think. Like, all right, cool. Imagine if Conor McGregor's team got to design their own shorts and fight kit. Like, truly design their own. It's still made by Venum, it's still sold by Venum, but they actually got say and input into their design.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
I think there'd be some complications with like if I'm an independent and I don't really have like a gym that I'm fighting out of, I get to pick my shorts. But if I'm a part of a team, now all of a sudden my team has to pick my shorts, I see like a complication with that maybe.
Yeah. And I mean, like, just because you're at a gym doesn't mean you have to wear that gym's shorts, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't hold you to it. But I imagine there's a lot of gyms that would go that route.
That's pretty okay. Yeah. So it's optional for the fighter. Then maybe they could represent their gym too. That's kind of cool. Oh, they used to do that with the banners. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm down with that. That's pretty cool. As far as what I saw from the shorts, like I said, the Reebok bar was set super low with their rollout, the inception of the pay scale. I don't know if you remember this. I do. So when they first rolled it out, it was not based off of just how long you've been fighting or how many wins you have in the UFC. Like it was based off of ranking, which is determined by writers, by media. And I don't know. Here, guys, let's look at some rankings real quick.
Hey, we have exhaustively gone into the flaws of the ranking system in the UFC to the point where that was probably 3 episodes in itself that we've talked about that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a fundamentally extremely flawed system, especially a system to tie monetary.
Conor McGregor hasn't had a win at lightweight in like 4 or 5 years, and he's ranked number 6, guys. Okay. Yeah. So.
Okay.
So, Reebok got a lot of flack because, they spelled Gilbert wrong. Giblert, right? They spelled, I think, Anderson Silva's name wrong. They excluded Northern Ireland on their map.
Uninspired.
Yeah, they were boring. It just the whole rollout was just a shit show. So, like I said, the bar was set very low with Reebok.
Looked like soccer jerseys, the like cheap soccer jerseys, not even good ones.
Yeah, and
it wasn't good.
I don't like. I'm not a huge fan of soccer. Like during the World Cup, I'll watch a couple matches because I think I just like the Netherlands because they're bright orange. It's my favorite color. Whatever. It's what I like. I like watching them play. I think some of it's fun, but one of the biggest things I dislike about professional soccer is their jerseys. They're just covered in branding. Like it's just like it doesn't say. You can't even find. I think what is it? Real Madrid. Is it Fly Emirates? It's covered in. I don't know. Point is, if they change their brand, now all of a sudden your jerseys like doesn't work anymore.
Yep.
It's not even like the team logo or anything. It's like, oh well, now they're sponsored by 1-800-COLLECT. That's a throwback for you.
Beautiful.
So we got to get you have to buy their new jersey because of the stupid brand, which is something that you don't give a shit about anyway. It's like, I care about the player, the team, the sport. I don't care that US Cellular is sponsoring the White Sox. I don't want to have to buy a new jersey because they got bought out by T-Mobile. Like, this is stupid. So the Venum shorts compared to Reebok, I would say the styling, to your point, is slightly more inspired. They're not, and this is their first stab at it in a generalized, relatively generic type short, and I think they look way better than the Reebok ones. It's just not plain black with Reebok logo on it that doesn't look like they're stained. They have sharp lines on them. It fits the Venum brand. I think, especially for their first rollout, I think it's really good. But also, to your point, I don't give a shit what they look like. They could look like diapers or thongs for all I care, as long as the fighters are making money, and that hasn't changed that much. So, same, but different, but still same.
And I think ultimately, if you want to see fighters get paid more, you have to figure out a way to actually have people want to buy these. And while there's a lot of fighters, and while a lot of fighters don't give a shit about it, there's a lot of very creative and ingenious fighters that understand marketing and branding. And if you allow them to use that branding, that design capability, kind of the artistic aspects of what they do in the background, and put it into their fight kit, people are going to be interested. You can actually start to break into the areas where people would want to wear those. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Just put in numbers real quick. We'll touch on this. If you want to go more into it, we can. But so this is from ESPN. Champions will now get $42,000 per bout in fight week incentive pay compared to $40,000 under Reebok. Same, but different, but still same. Title challengers
get paid like an IT professional.
Title challengers get $32,000 instead of $30,000. Fighters with 21 or more UFC fights get $21,000 as opposed to $20,000. Athletes between 16 and 20 fights will also see $1,000 increase from 15 to 16. So, and then the guys in the early level are going up for $3,500 to $4,000. So what I'm saying is there is essentially no difference.
You could fight 4 times a year and not make as much as a full-time Burger King employee.
No, not from their sponsorship, right?
Yeah,
and
and I know there's other pay and other.
No, but that's bullshit. That's bullshit, because we saw that before the Reebok deal hit,
people made bank.
Like Brendan Schaub is the most famous example. Like, if you don't like him, I get it. If you like him, great. He was just a very good example of a fighter who wasn't exactly top tier talent. I mean, he had good wins, right? Brendan Schaub gets so much shit now just because of like his personality and what he says, and like the lack of, evidence-based whatever he says. Like, he's like TMZ for MMA.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't watch his stuff anymore.
He's made more money than I ever will doing it.
Sure. And I don't even think he's that bad. I think what you see is what you get with him. I think that's who he is. He's kind of like a cultural floater. He just goes from personality to personality based off of who he's hanging out with. And, he seems like a fun guy. I've met him in person, and I know one interaction doesn't, determine who you are. But he was very kind and generous with his time, like meeting everybody and just talking to everyone. And you don't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. I think, he seems like a great dad. Like, he cares about his family. All that being said, if you don't like him, that's great. I don't care. If you do like him, awesome. He wasn't the best fighter in the world. He had some good wins over good talent, but he wasn't number 1 or number 2. He wasn't fighting for a title constantly. He didn't have this long sustained history of wins in the UFC at heavyweight. He's not regarded as one of the best heavyweights of all time. I said all this because he was making $100,000 a year from endorsements.
He was making $100,000 a fight, wasn't he?
Oh, maybe it was from a fight.
It was over 6 figures.
$100,000 from endorsements. $100,000. And if under the Reebok deal and now the Venum deal, which is essentially the same, he would be making like $10,000 a fight.
Yeah.
So I don't give a shit that there's other incentives and that you have your fighter pay, because that wasn't different before anyway. So that's essentially just like a flat, like that's what it was before. It is what it is now. There has been no change. The only thing is money has been taken away from the fighters and given directly to the organization by slapping this big deal on, and then putting, instead of Condom Depot on a fighter's ass, now it's Trojan. Protect yourself at all times, sitting on the mat next to some professional fighter's face as he gets punched, right?
Oh yeah.
It's just
like it's incredible. And
so that's what I'm saying is I think the UFC had another opportunity here to make a difference, and especially we've talked about this before. Like, we're gonna go off on too much of a tangent here, but
you should want them to sell.
It's not just their fight kits that you want to sell. It's like they're dealing with a fucking lawsuit where they could lose the ability to make fights. Like, the fighters could get unionized and fall under the I think the Ali Act, right? So
Yeah.
or there might be a subset of it for MMA because it's not technically boxing, or maybe they make a separate one similar to the Ali Act. I don't know. But if you look at boxing, which is terrible, boxing is awful. I know I'm not the biggest boxing fan, but if you are, I hope you understand what I'm saying, that boxing is horrendous. How often do you actually get the best boxer in the world to fight the second best boxer in the world, or the two best boxers in the world to fight each other in a certain weight class or division?
Nearly never when they're at their prime.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is, like, with the UFC controlling so much of the aspect of all these fighters' everyday life and so much of how they get paid and everything, we get to see these amazing fights play out. I'm not happy about the Jorge Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman fight happening again. I fucking hate it. I've talked about it multiple times. I don't want to talk about it again, but I complain about that, and we have talked about that. That is, from the history of the UFC, an anomaly. Most of the time, we get someone who we would consider ranked in the top 5 or deserving of a title shot fighting for a title, or two of the best fighters in the world fighting each other, or people from different divisions fighting each other. We've seen that more often lately. We get to see the best fighters fighting the best fights in the world more often than not. And the UFC is dealing with a lawsuit right now, and not just the UFC, it would technically fall under Bellator and the PFL, which could change the dynamic and give more power to the fighters, which I'm for. I'm okay with that. But what I'm saying is, like, they might be on the verge of losing control of their fighters.
Well, and they structured their company in a very... The change to the Reebok deal was a mistake.
That's
when you
what
want
I'm
to classify
saying.
fighters as an independent contractor, putting them in a uniform with your logo on it is a dicey move.
And that's what they
I know this from experiments.
That's what they had a
worked
chance
as an
to
independent
do.
Contractor. Yeah, like I worked as an independent contractor at one point for AT&T. AT&T, I don't think, knew that we were independent contractors because they were contracting from another company, and that company classified us as that. But the problem is, when you issue a work truck from AT&T uniforms, all that AT&T, yeah, all of a sudden that becomes a huge labor issue to where you can't exactly classify someone as an independent contractor anymore. Now they've moved into the area where they have to be a W-2 employee. There's certain restrictions about what you can and can't do in that arena, and the Reebok deal made that infinitely more complicated for the UFC with how they already controlled fighter contracts.
Yeah, and we've talked about this, like, we've exhausted this topic over and over again, and I think it's worth revisiting right now, at least in a little bit. Maybe we can go more in depth in a couple weeks, maybe during a lull week when we don't have a fight to talk about. But as of right now, the long and short of it is they had another opportunity with the Reebok deal coming to an end and essentially not making amends for that, because you can't. Like, there's fighters who aren't fighting anymore who essentially lost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in endorsement deals during their tenure in the UFC because of the Reebok deal. And now, you had a chance to course correct, right? And set the fighters that are currently in the UFC and going to be coming to the UFC off with a better future, a better present. And you had, like, another opportunity to do that, and maybe even take some of the eyes off that lawsuit, which there aren't a lot anyway, but it would disengage a lot of these fighters from pursuing that lawsuit because they know that they're going to make plenty of money while they're in there if they just grind and get their money and do their endorsements. And they didn't fucking do it. Yet again, like, the UFC has an opportunity to do this and they just didn't. I don't know if it's Dana White at the helm anymore making these decisions, but I don't think so.
Yeah, out of all the things they had the opportunity to change in the UFC, pay, one of them. But gloves also didn't change.
Nope.
And then for the most part, design. I bet most people watching didn't realize that there were new shorts.
No,
unless it was brought.
Well, they brought it up constantly. Like, how about these new Venum shorts? Look at Mackenzie Dern's ass. I know they didn't say that, but
if you just had it on the background,
you're not gonna see it. Yeah, you're not gonna notice.
Didn't have volume on. Yeah.
So that's that. Again, like, I don't, and we've already talked about it long enough, but they've had many opportunities to change the way that, fighters are compensated over the years. And their business model isn't to do that. It's to pay them 16 to 18% of, the total net profits, right? Not the net income, net profits. So,
which is probably not even going to reach that percentage. A lot of net profits in businesses like this, you're not looking at that high of a percentage.
So we look at that, and if you mentioned a couple of things, they had the chance to change the fighters' pay, change their the gloves and the design and stuff. I think of all those things, the easiest thing to do would have literally just been, if you want to opt into the Venum deal because you can't, you don't think you're going to be able to get those sponsorships early on in your career, and then maybe Venum picks you up as as a featured athlete or whatever. Maybe because now they have an in with the athlete. Whereas if you're coming in and you're popular, coming from Cage Warriors, like Patty Paddington or something, like this guy from Cage Warriors is coming over to the UFC, just got signed. He's got a big following already. He's probably gonna have his own endorsements. He might not want to take that deal, and now he can take advantage of his popularity and the work that he's already put in. So all they had to do was be hands off. Like, that's why I'm mentioning it, is like all they literally had to do was say, "Oh yeah, figure your shit out." I think that's a lot less stressful than trying to manage the 500-man roster and figure out exactly who's getting paid what. I know it's not that hard. It's probably in a software, but.
And we've talked about it too. There's a balance here to where they could have actually struck a reasonable deal. Just the shorts.
Sure.
All right, Venum shorts, no other advertisement on the shorts, and then let the fighters control whatever fucking shirt they wear. Don't make the shirt a part of the kit. Just do shorts. It's easy enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but a lot of the things with the sponsorship is about, cage time, what they see when they're in there, and a lot of their brands.
I mean, previously you only saw, you had the backdrop, which obviously contributed to it, but
the banner,
yeah, for the most part, it's all right, cool. They put the shirt back on when they get their hand raised, and
or their hats,
and when they're walking in, the shirts, the hats, that sort of stuff. Like, Shaw was making six figures not because of just what was on his shorts,
Yeah, that's true, because he walked in with all that stuff.
So maybe fighters aren't going to make, as granted, the sport has also grown so much since then. So arguably they could be making that or more with how much more growth and viewership this.
Yeah, it's on ESPN, man. That's what I'm saying. It's like the pay-per-view model's gone. All of the incentive to be an independent contractor or grind on your own, all that shit's gone now. Like, it's just mainstream. You're in the main you're in the eye of the mainstream viewer. Give them opportunity to benefit off their popularity.
Let Venum just put out, all right, here's the non-competition clause. So you can't put Reebok on your shirt, or I don't know if Tap Out even still exists, but just to have it not be a competition brand, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think this is the last thing I'll say on it. If you want to support a fighter, if you really believe in their cause, and you want to help them out in their ability to fight, train, and truly be a professional athlete, buy their stuff, not the UFC shit. Buy a shirt from Vettori, right? I saw, like I said before, if you got the means, like, I'm not loaded, so I'm not spending $60 on shipping to buy something from Italy. But hey, if you have a way to ship things to yourself cheaper from Italy, then get some Marvin Vettori gear if you want to support his stuff. Buy Kevin Holland stuff. I think Vettori has some badass shirts, like great hoodies, cool hats. If you're into that kind of stuff, buy it. If you're into Julian Marquez's stuff, like you like him, listen to his podcast, buy his stuff, buy his gear. Don't try to. Your mic's off.
I'm looking at Curtis Blade's website right now. Black hoodie, $40.
Plain black?
No, it says heavyweight on it, and it's got Curtis razor blades, and it's got
the face
crossing razor blades.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually pretty dope. Like,
that's what I'm saying. You like
yeah.
Curtis Blades, buy his stuff. That's like
cool. And it's a $40 sweatshirt. That's pretty much what a sweatshirt costs when you go to Target anywhere.
Yeah. You buy
And
that
it's
$40 shirt.
It's half the cost of a fight kit.
Yeah, and where are you going to wear that fight kit? You going to wear that to work? You going to wear that to the gym? What are you going to do? You going to wear that when you go out? No, you're fucking not. Will you wear a hoodie when you go out? Yeah. Will you wear a hoodie on the weekends if you dress up during the week? Probably. If you have casual Friday, you're going to wear like some fight gear, like some like fighter's t-shirt. Like I wear my Killer Cub shirt. You know, I love that shirt. I love my Curtis Blade shirt. My Angela Hill, check the knee, you must. Like there's a lot of really good fight gear out there coming from fighters themselves. Buy that stuff, support them that way. Don't buy the Venum shit. If you want Venum gloves, you know, because you're training, or you want to buy some boxing gloves,
I
don't
make those.
I don't know if you can buy gloves that say Pride on them anymore.
Who was it? Justin Gaethje's coach. They put out really good gloves.
Oh,
they have their own company.
Trevor Whitman.
Yeah,
Trevor Whitman makes his own gloves. I looked at the price of those. They're very expensive. For someone who casually trains like me, I don't think it's worth it. I just have a pair of Hayabusa Tako shoes. I've had them for years. They're 16-ounce boxing gloves. I love them. They have a double wrist wrap, so like I don't even have to put on wraps. I love them.
Yeah, just support your fighters.
All right. Last fight on the main card, the first fight on the main card, the last one we have to cover, Mike Perry versus Daniel Rodriguez. Rodriguez is looking sharp, man. You know, he fights out of the BMF ranch, the Cowboy Cerrone's ranch.
Yeah.
So dude, that jab looks sharp. His straight left looks great. Decent kick to the body. Like he's one of those guys where, you know, he's got a hard luck story, and, you know, he's coming from a really bad place, you know, having no money and stuff, and basically, you know, working his way out of, you know, nothingness into success. And I think that's cool. But he's covered in shitty tattoos. It just bugs me so much. Like, he's a great fighter, and I don't know. I think he seems like a genuine person. I don't know him personally. He just has a lot of shitty tattoos. I don't like. They're so distracting.
But yeah, well, he's still fun.
Not like Mike Perry has great tattoos. I don't think they're great. But yeah, so as far as Mike Perry goes, what do you think is happening?
I don't know.
Because he looked like shit.
He's very up and down. I mean, like, we've seen him have good performances against people. We've seen him have bad. It's just, I don't know if he needs to, like, realign his camp, what he needs to be doing. He had I can't remember who the fight was against, where he had his girlfriend corner him. Like,
Mickey Gall.
That was the Mickey Gall fight. He just seems to be all over the place, and, you know,
dude,
he's a good fighter.
Remember when he got in there on Rodriguez? He got in there on Rodriguez. Dude, he just lifted him up like he was made of paper.
Yeah.
And slammed him on the ground. Like, Mike Perry is very strong, but like his striking he's never been an elite striker, what we would consider like a sharp striker using like excellent technique. But even his striking looked terrible. Like, he wasn't hitting hard. His body looks flat. He just looks off. And I don't know what it is.
I mean, if I had to pin it on something, I just think he is missing the right camp or the right team. I don't know if he just hasn't found it, or if he might be hard to coach. Like,
maybe
he might have one of those personalities. It probably wouldn't surprise people if he was hard to coach.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. He seems like a nutcase. But yeah, like, I think the welterweight division's more fun when Mike Perry's fighting well. I think he's a fun, strong fighter, and this was not his best performance. Daniel Rodriguez has looked really good, and maybe we'll look back on this and saying, man, Mike Perry Rodriguez is just that good. So maybe we'll look back. You know, Rodriguez, you know, he's not too shabby. Like, this guy beat Tim Means in his UFC debut. Like, he's really good. It's just, I don't think Perry looked like himself. Even over his last few fights where he's had, you know, the up and downs, getting in trouble with the law again, getting in fights in bars, you know, getting in arguments, throwing things, like all of that stuff, he still looked better in his past couple of fights. than he did in this one. Like even when he fought Darren Till, I thought, but not Darren Till. Oh poop. Oh my goodness.
Now all I can think is Darren Till, so you blanked it out of my mind.
Well, so now he was supposed to fight Darren Till, like they went wanting to fight each other. But after this fight, Darren Till said, come out to England and I'll train with you. He fought Tim Means. That's who he fought. Yeah, so win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Like
I know.
If he doesn't, I think he might get one more shot.
It's hard because even though he has a record that would normally get you cut from the UFC, he attracts people to watch. Like,
he's usually pretty fun to watch.
People tune in. And as long as you get people to tune in, your staying power is better than most.
Yeah, I thought he could. I still think he can turn it around. I never thought he was going to be champ. I thought he would do a little better than he has. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I think if he
people he has beat in the UFC include Paul Felder, Alex Oliveira,
yes,
Jake Ellenberger. Like he's lost a lot, but he's shown that he can hang with people. And
remember, he knocked out Jake Ellenberger with that elbow, that nasty elbow. Danny Roberts, he went the distance with Alan Jouban. He went the distance with Santiago Ponzinibbio, with Max Griffin. He lost that. He was beating Donald Cerrone until he got his arm screwed up by him. He went the distance and had a split decision when he got his nose broken so bad that his nose, like, it broke again this fight, but it got shifted so far over. It looked like it was underneath, like, the middle of his eye. That against Vicente Luque, split decision. He fought that whole fight. Jeff Neal, TKO'd him. But, dude, all of his losses, other than that one, have been decisions. He's gone the distance with the best in the division. He's a tough out. I think he needs to take a step back in competition a little bit.
And that's why I think, like, just realign things for himself. Because I think he can be successful, but I also think he needs the right camp. He needs the right coaching. He needs to ease it back. Like you said, take a step back. But
all of his losses have come in the UFC.
Yeah.
And they've been to Alan Jouban, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Max Payne Griffin, Donald Cerrone, Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal, Tim Means, Daniel Rodriguez. We're talking about, like, guys in the top 10, top 5 of the division constantly. Like, he's been fighting nothing but
the
best. And when he steps down in competition, he does really well against Mickey Gall, Alex Oliveira, Paul Felder. He got a split decision win against him. People are like, how did Paul Felder lose to this guy? I'll tell you, Paul Felder is a lightweight, and yes, he's a big lightweight, but
he's a lightweight.
Yeah, and I think Mike Perry's.
It's still impressive though.
I don't know. He looks so flat in this fight, physically and technique wise. I really want to see him back. I want to see him give one more good shot at it and see how it goes. All right, we had some fun fights on the prelims. Jim Miller losing a decision to Joe Solecki. Jim Miller still got it, man.
Yeah.
What is this? That was his 38th fight in the UFC. Yeah,
he'll probably have a 39th.
Coming up against one of the best not one of the best, sorry, like a good prospect. Okay, he's holding his own. I might add, it was not the most exciting, but Solecki wasn't able to do anything to him on the ground. And in any other fight, I would say they'd probably get stood back up. But Herb Dean was letting it ride. Didn't have a problem with it. I was okay. He's letting grapplers grapple. Scotty Hot Sauce Holtzman gets knocked out by Mateus Gamrot. Polish fighter who's known for his grappling catches He caught Holtzman twice. One time, Holtzman was complaining about getting hit behind the head, but upon further review, the guys reviewed it, and if you go back and watch the replay, he catches the back of the ear in transition when they were going back and forth. So it was a clean strike, but I think that's what kind of put Holtzman a little bit wobbly. He didn't show it, but you know how that is, where like if you get caught clean and then later in the fight you can get caught with a jab and go out, it's just like it's cumulative almost in a fight. And Gamrot ended up catching him and then getting a kind of like a TKO, and that wasn't a clean knockout. John Makdessi fighting Ignacio Bahamondes. Holy crap, that fight was good. It was really back and forth.
Go back and watch it.
So Ignacio is like 6'3" fighting at lightweight against John Makdessi, who's like 5'8" or 5'7". It was a big height disparity. And he's like this really young kid. I don't want to misquote where he's from because the South Americans get very upset about that. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, they're just very proud of their
Chile.
Yeah, Chilean fighter. So I don't mean that in a negative way. But if you call like a Brazilian fighter Argentinian, they'll lose their shit, and vice versa. Yeah, like if you call a Canadian fighter like, "Oh man, are you an American
from America, George St. Pierre?" Everyone looking at you like, "What the fuck?"
No, actually, I'm from Canada, but it's okay. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to confuse you. It's like, why are you apologizing to me? I'm the one who misquoted where you're from. But yeah, so, and speaking of Canadians, John Makdessi is Canadian. He looked great. I think he still got the fire. He's just, and Makdessi's, he's one of those like journeyman lightweights where he's very good on his feet. He's a clever guy out there. It was a fun fight. If you haven't watched that one, if you're listening to this and you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. Like, if obviously you probably have ESPN Plus. It was on the prelims. John Makdessi versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Holy crap, that fight was so much fun. Heavyweights, we had Jorgen De Castro, the knockout machine, fighting Jargis Danho. It's from Germany. Hasn't fought in 5 years. Had some injuries, was gonna retire, and De Castro like nailed Danho early. It's just big, like these are just like big boned heavyweights. You know, they're not like super tall guys or ultra muscular anyway. Like, they're just like big boned guys. Yeah, thick boys. And Danho caught him with a short right hand. It was still like a hook, but it wasn't one of those big looping hooks. It was like a relatively short hook, and De Castro was out cold, man. So that one was fun. There was a great fight for Hunter Azure versus Jack Shore. Again, if this one was a decision, right, for Jack Shore, and there wasn't a lot of big power punches in this fight. It was more like technical wrestling, positional dominance, as well as intermittent striking. Great fight to watch because Hunter Azure is an incredible wrestler, and Jack Shore's from he's Welsh, and he out wrestled Hunter Azure. Again, remember what I said about especially people from Great Britain, not known for the wrestling. Ask Bisping; he jokes about it all the time. Not known for the wrestling out there. And Jack Shore, I don't know if he was doing it to make a statement or if he just it was a path to victory, and he felt that he was comfortable doing it. He put it on Azure grappling wise, and he was dominant. He looked great. And Jack Shore is also a young cat, so lots of opportunity for him at bantamweight. Featherweight, Luis Saldana, that was a weird fight. And William Knight fighting Jung Da-yoon at light heavyweight. William Knight is like he's one of those guys who's like 5'9" or 5'10", fighting at light heavyweight, and he's just nothing but muscle. He looks ridiculous.
Old-fashioned Sean Shirk style.
Yeah. And Impa Kasangane getting the win. Good for him against Sasha Plotnikov. Impa Kasangane was the guy who was on the brutal end of the I'm going to catch your kick, and then you kick me in the face knockout.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good for him to get back on track.
Yep. Get some new highlights on his reel that aren't him getting knocked out.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for listening, making it this far, obviously. If you did make it this far, that's super cool. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell everybody about this. Comment below, please. Like, I responded last week to you guys, and I really appreciate you guys interacting, even if you're making fun of me a little bit because I called a KO a TKO. Ha ha ha. Like, that's definitely not the only mistake I've made, and it's not going to be the only one I ever make. I'm going to say a lot more stupid things. So, like, if you want more episodes to start out with Brendan's blunders, just let me know. Like, just tell me the stupid shit I said, and I'll put it on there. But I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Y'all take care out there.
All right. Everybody, have a great day.